Hello guys, it's Richard FLD here again. As you may have guessed from the title, I am building speakers. A long time ago, me and my friends, we built some speakers which were jerry-rigged from old 8-inch design. We put 6x9s in them, and I know, there's audiophiles out there that say, oh, 6x9s are crap, but not if you got decent 6x9s, and yeah, okay, they may not be as good as the normal speaker, whatever normal speaker is, but we did bloody well, and I'm going to have another go at it. Basically, it's going to be a tower design, like that. It's going to have 6x9 in here, 6x9 in there. Obviously, that's going to be another one. So obviously that'll be the left one, this will be the right one. And yeah, basically these are the plans. Well, that's what I've got cut, side, front, back, and those are tops and bottoms. So these are the tops and bottoms. These two will be the fronts. Those are offcuts. These ones are the backs, and those ones are the sides. So it's fairly inexpensive. I've got a receipt here somewhere. I mean, the actual wood itself costs... hang on. Stop focusing properly. But if you can see that on, there we go. £34. £34 for the wood. Oh, I've got some batten which will be screwed inside, which the back will screw onto. But I'll go into that later. But yeah, £34. Box of 200 screws, less than a £5. I've got some wood glue. So basically, you can build the boxes for about 40 quid, which is pretty ace. So yeah, basically, that's just the introduction. I'll take some photos as I go along, and I'll sort of narrate over them. 'Cause I find it so bloody annoying having to stop and video as I'm going along, because I need to think. So I'll take some photos at the most important steps of the build, and then I'll narrate over them in a bit after this. So yeah, I'm going to get building. So yep, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Alright. Hello, so you've seen the introduction video. I have now finished building the speakers. Obviously I've got to finish them, fill them and paint them and whatnot. But what I'm going to do now is go through a series of photos explaining what I did in each step, and just basically my methodology really, to get to the point I'm at now. The speakers were all built, the speakers are in, they're wired up, and I've actually got them in my room, and they are actually sounding pretty damn good. Yeah, I will be looking at perhaps putting in some bracing, some sound deadening and porting next, but that will be another video. But for now I'm just going to cover the construction of the boxes themselves. So here we go. This was basically me working out how much sort of space I would have on a sheet of plywood. As you can see the dimensions there. 900 high, 300 deep by 250 wide. The tops and bottoms on the right, you cannot actually do it like that. I drew it like that purely to see if I could get them out of one sheet of plywood, and you can. But the problem is the width of the cuts take up just too much wood to be able to get them out how they are situated on that piece of paper. You've got to have the tops and bottoms taken out of that spare bit at the top, but that's not really an issue. Yeah, on to the build. Well, I think this is more of for benefit of people that haven't really done woodwork or carpentry before. The stuff you need to know is pretty basic. One thing I will say is make sure you get good screws. Because I normally always say pre-drill your holes, but the screws I have are Turbo Golds, 4x40s, and they are really good because you don't need to drill holes, and they very rarely split the wood. So I would recommend getting something like that. Otherwise, it just takes so long having to pre-drill the holes. But anyway, what I started off with is obviously I got my bits cut. What I then do is I lay them out and I put them up in such a way that I can see which way the wood is bending, because no matter what piece of wood you get, the wood is more than likely going to be bent. Personally, I always opt to have the bulges outwards, because what you can do later on is you can put reinforcing battens or baffles in, which will pull the wood back in. So even if it's bulging out at this stage, don't worry, because you can always pull it back in later. Basically what I do is I go around and I measure in, so I know where to put the screws. It's 18mm thick ply, so I measure in 9mm, and obviously I draw lines just so I've got an axis of which I can see to screw down. There you go, you can see I've already got a few screws in there. I always use PVA glue as well. I mean, you might think, well, you know, there's enough screws in there that it's going to hold. Well, I like to be thorough, and the PVA glue will seal any tiny gaps that you're going to have there as well. And the PVA is going to be stronger than the wood itself anyway. So I always just glue the wood as well. Even if it seems overkill, just do it. But yeah, basically you end up with something like this. The front isn't on yet. You can see I've spread the glue around on the face there, so when I screw down that'll all be glued nicely. Always, I mean, the hardest thing is when doing something like this is making sure you get all your angles right when you cut the wood. If you're not very good with cutting, or you haven't got the equipment, I would say go somewhere like B&Q and get the wood cut in store. Obviously it's probably going to cost you a bit, but you know, otherwise, unless you've got a really nice table saw or a really nice circular saw with one of the tracks, you can just slide it down. You're going to find it quite difficult unless you're really good with a hand saw to get all the cuts accurate. I mean, for something like this, it will have to be a sealed box. Yeah, it's up to you to decide what the best course of action is, but all your cuts have to be level and they have to be straight, because if you do angled cuts, well, your box is going to be on the piss basically. All these cuts were done on a table saw, so they're all perfectly straight, and when I screw them together they're all nice right angles, so they will always be straight and they will just screw up nicely. So yeah, anyway, that's the box with the tops, sides and the front on. It's at this point that I decided to whip the belt sander out, and I sanded down all around the edges and the joins and the pieces of wood themselves, because at some stage I'm going to paint this, so I need it to be perfectly smooth. I will use filler primer before I paint, but if I sand it down as smooth as I can get it now, I'll need to use less filler primer later. So yeah, I mean, you can sand it now, you can sand it later. I just was a bit bored, so I got my belt sander out, and you can see there all the angles and joins are perfect. Right, so there's my two boxes, all ready to go. What I did now is I got my pieces of batten and I measured in, and the way I've designed my box the back plate actually fits inside and screws into those bits of batten. So obviously I glued the bits of batten in and I screwed them, and yeah, that for me that works. I mean, you might just want to have a piece that fits like the front, but I don't know, it's just a personal preference. For me, that works. So at this stage I am marking out, so I drew a line down the centre of the front, which will be my axis to work out where the centre of the speaker is going to go, because you need to know that. And because these were 6x9s, they are oval, which makes things just a little bit more interesting. I originally was going to have both of them diagonally, but I tried working it out, and I mean I could probably do it eventually, but the amount of time it would have taken to work it out would just be horrendous. So I'm doing them just vertically, so I'm just working out basically the centre first of all of where each speaker is going to go, and as we can see there, I'm just marking out the extremities of the height, the width and the length of each speaker. What I actually did is I went online and I found out the best way to do an oval. Basically you need 2 nails and a bit of string and a pencil, and you basically put 2 nails in a certain, there's a formula for working it out, a certain distance apart with a certain length of string, and you basically run your pencil inside the string and it draws out an oval, which I did on this piece of card, which was almost an oval. It was a bit out in places, but as you can see on the piece of card, I already drew an axis so I can line it up, and in the middle I put a hole so obviously I can see that the centre is lined up. And there we have it. We have 2 ovals all drawn and marked up, ready to go. This next bit I had to improvise again because I don't have a jig saw or a router. So what I did is I drilled holes on the inside, that's very important, on the inside of my oval, because obviously if I drilled bang on the line then my hole's going to be too big. This isn't really the way to do it. I'm only doing it this way because, well, I've got no other choice. I mean, I would advise you to use a router or a jigsaw or something. But anyway, I used a hole saw, as you can see here, to get rid of most of the wood as I could, and then I just used a nice little handsaw to remove the rest of the wood. As you can see there, it's not too bad, and I'm nicely inside the line, so then I can come in with my rasp, which fits in my battery drill, and then just eat away some of that wood until it's just big enough. Speaker choices. My speakers, well, they sound amazing. They really do. I've got the box just right, and it was pure fluke, really. It's very much going to depend on what amp you're running and what speakers, but I'm just really lucky in that these speakers are perfect for this box. They are Infinity 6x9s. I think they are 6903Is or 6953Is or something like that, but they're made by Infinity, and these are very good 6x9s. Yeah, I've used them in various car setups in the past, hence why I've got so many, but also I always buy them whenever I see them on eBay because they are very, very, very good 6x9s. But I'm not saying they're the best, but for me, I like them. They work well. But yeah, obviously the success on your build is paramount on which speakers you're going to use. Obviously if you use some crappy £20 speakers, then it's not going to work very well. But anyway, I cut all my holes, got all my 6x9s installed. Now, it was a bit tricky getting them lined up, and actually they're not perfect. But the only way you can see they're not perfect is because the line's down the middle. I reckon once you get rid of that line, then you ain't gonna notice. But I've got no tips for you there. If you're using obviously normal speakers, you won't have that issue. But the 6x9s, I mean, it's just gonna have to be by eye mostly. I was lucky in that mine were pretty much bang on. So yeah, and it was at this point I used a hole saw and I put a hole in the backs for the speaker cup terminal cups. I actually salvaged these out of an old pair of Jamo speakers, and I just kept them around thinking one day I'd use them, and yep, I've used them. Now, the way I've hooked up my speakers is I've wired them in series. Now, the reason I've done that is because my amp can take the impedance, and I've only got 2 channels left on my amp anyway. If you've got a 4-channel amp, then the best way to do it would obviously be have each speaker on each channel. But obviously, I can't do that, so I'm wiring them up in series. If you're going to do this, you need to take note of the impedance, which is the resistance of the speakers. The speakers I'm using are 4 ohms each, which means in series they will be 8 ohms. What you can do though is if you wire them up in series inside the speakers and then wire them up in parallel on the back of the amp, if you've got a pair of 4 ohm speakers wired in series in the box, which is 8 ohms, and then wire them up in parallel on the amp, they will be back down to 4 ohms. But I think that will be another video, because it's quite late, I'm tired, and I really cannot really compute that sort of stuff tonight. But anyway, the wires, basically to wire it up in series, you put the speakers in, you take one wire, connect the negative to the positive, and then the 2 remaining terminals, the remaining positive and negative, you wire up to the amp. It's as simple as that. Obviously if they're in parallel, then you obviously have a wire coming into the speaker which then splits off onto each positive and negative. So basically you'll have a positive and negative going to the bottom and a positive and negative going to the top, and that's how you wire them in parallel. Yeah, basically they're not completely finished yet. It's a bit of a shame. My saw I was using to saw out the speaker holes it's got really large teeth. It's actually a pruning saw, but it's all I had. So it tore off some of the wood around the speakers, so they're going to have to be filled quite extensively. But apart from that, I'm quite happy. All the angles are fine, they're sanded down nicely, and once painted they're going to look really nice. There's another shot of them outside. Obviously the back panels, there is a bit of a gap there, but once all the speakers are done, I'm going to seal them up and then screw them shut, and then that'll be it. They shouldn't ever need opening again. And there they are in my room where I've been testing them extensively for the last couple of hours, and they really do sound great. I mean, I took them around my friends earlier, and I just had one speaker, and we went for a walk down the road, and it really didn't get any quieter. I mean, you could hear that thing from miles. It was ridiculously loud. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm quite lucky that I managed to get the volume of the speaker boxes right for the speakers. I mean, it's a really good design for me, and yeah, I think other 6x9s would be fairly good as well. Obviously, as I said earlier, The more you spend on the 6x9, the better quality it's going to be. So if you put shitty 6x9s in, don't expect great performance. But anyway, that's all I can sort of think about tonight. As I said, I'm going to be calculating some numbers. I need to work out the tuning of the box, so I can create a port, because I need to know, I know the volume of the box. I think it's near as, damn it, 2 feet cubed volume. So then you need to know the tuning of the box, and obviously the dimensions. You can work out what port length you're going to use, and the port will give it a lot better bass, hopefully. But I need to do some calculations to work that out. So that will be another video. But yeah, that's all for now. I hope that this video was of use to someone. 6x9s can be good. Ideally, I probably would have liked to have used 8 inches if I was going to do it properly, or even 6 inches. But like I said, I had these speakers knocking about, so I used them. And yeah, no, they have given me great results so far. I can't wait to finish them. But I'll do more videos when the time comes. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. Bye.